You know, you're the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. How you guys doing out there? My name is Kyle and I'll be reviewing Die Hard 2. Yes guys, I understand this is the complete Die Hard collection, but I'm of course reviewing the second film in the franchise. The sequel is directed by Renny, Harlin and stars Bruce Willis, William Atherton, William Sadler, and many others. So Die Hard 2, like all the rest of the Die Hard movies, has a very simplistic plot. Some terrorists want to take over something and John McClane has to stop them. And in this film, the terrorists decide to take over Dulles Airport in Washington, D.C., and John McClane, of course, has to stop them, and he uncovers a lot of twists. He discovers that not only are these terrorists led by a renegade colonel, played by William Sadler, but they, of course, want General Esperanza, who's, of course, flying to Dulles Airport that night. I first gotta start off and say that I really like Die Hard 2. I think it's a very good sequel. Is it as good as the first one or the third one? No, but I do think in its own right, it's still a really, really fun, entertaining popcorn thriller to watch. Because it's just so much fun watching Bruce Willis do his thing. He really owns the role of John McClane until Die Hard 5, which I don't even want to talk about because that movie's a piece of shit. But for Die Hard 2, Bruce Willis, once again, knocks it out of the park as John McClane. There are so many great one-liners used in this movie, and truth be told, he was actually told by the producers to make as many jokes as possible because the audiences just loved it from the first movie. And how couldn't you when he says lines like this?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
We also find out that John McClane is at the airport in order to get his wife, who's of course flying in the air. However, since the airways shut down, he unfortunately can't get to her, and her plane's about to lose fuel. So as McClane is just sitting in the airport waiting for his wife to arrive, he notices something strange, and that's what I like. I like the fact that even when he's off duty, John McClane is still an observer. He's always looking around because he knows that at any point some crazy stuff could happen. If there's one thing Die Hard is always known for besides its awesome hero, it's to have compelling, really awesome, badass, non-silly villains who are there and they are serious, they have great accents, and they're willing to do any and everything to get their missions accomplished. And in Die Hard 2, this is the movie where I think a lot of people falter with the villains. And in my opinion, I think that they're fine. I like what they do in the movie, but in my mind, they just lack the charisma, the heart, the energy, and especially the memorability as the Gruber villains do, or Timothy Olyphant's character in Die Hard 4. Because there was way more than one villain in Die Hard 2, and when you try to balance multiple villains in a Die Hard film, it usually doesn't work. You want to have one compelling villain that's always going to challenge the hero no matter what. And they do challenge John McClane. I'm not saying they don't, but to me, they just weren't as compelling as Die Hard 1 or Die Hard 3. If there's one thing I can't say I liked in Die Hard 2 more than Die Hard 1, it's the location. Because Die Hard 1, when you really think about it, takes place in an office building. It's very claustrophobic, but it's not really like a big environment where he can really go to places. Die Hard 2 takes place in an airport, which is more open, but it's still in a very contained location. It's not anything massive. He doesn't travel through the city like in Die Hard 3. He's in an enclosed space. So you still have that feel of Die Hard 1. And yes, you do get a sense of familiarity, but I think that's the point. They're trying to follow a formula that they set up in the first movie. And after a while, that formula can get repetitive, which I don't think happened in 3, but I think happened in 4. Sometimes familiarity is a good thing, and I think in Die Hard 2 specifically, they really nailed the formula. I think William Sadler did an excellent job in this movie playing Colonel Stewart. He just added a lot of force. But at the same time, you knew he was a renegade colonel, so you knew that he was, of course, the bad guy, and he's someone that you can hate even more. William Atherton does a great job in this film playing Dick Thornburg, or Richard Thornburg. I think he's pretty good in this movie. Yes, he is an asshole, but that's what makes his character so memorable, and he finally learns his lesson. I like the actor who plays Lorenzo. I think he did a great job as well, just being an asshole. Oh, and I can't forget this little line of exchange from McClane to Lorenzo.
What sets off the metal detectors first? The lead in your ass or the shit in your brains?
And what's funny is that the actor who plays his brother is the same guy that plays Harry in Total Recall. I never noticed that until I just rewatched the film, and when I watched it, I was like, hey, isn't that Harry from Total Recall? I really like the actor who plays Barnes, who we found out is incredibly smart and figures out the terrorist plan. And I also love the actor that plays Marv the janitor. One thing I can say I was upset about with Die Hard 2 was that they cut Reginald VelJohnson's lines short. Reginald VelJohnson is in the movie, but he's only in it for 2 minutes. And that's one of the things I was kind of upset with Die Hard 2, is because, yes, he does live in LA, but I wish we could have had more time with Al Powell, because this is the last time we see his character. Anyone loved Al Powell in the first movie. He just brought so much charisma and heart to it, and he really connected with John McClane, but he also really connected with us, because he's a man on the ground. But he's the guy who believed in the hero, and in this movie, he's only in it for just 2 minutes of screen time, which was not enough for his character, unfortunately. Before I talk about my absolute favorite moments of this movie and moments that are so ridiculous, let's talk about the action and the way the action's filmed. I think it's done in a very slick, stylish way. I think Renny Harlin did a great job with this movie, and I think this is Renny Harlin's best movie that I've seen, because he's only made The Long Kiss Goodnight, which I thought was fine, but all his other movies I think are just okay. In Die Hard 2, though, I think he does do a good job with the action, despite the fact that at times it does feel a little fake, and there are numerous, and I mean numerous, continuity errors in the sequences that you just can't really avoid. However, though, I do think it's well paced. I do think Die Hard 2 does have some good pacing. It feels very fast, very moving. When it gets dramatic, it feels dramatic. But with the action scenes, I don't think they're as good as 1 or 3. I love the scene where John McClane fails to stop the plane because everyone is just sitting there on the edge of their seats watching, hoping John McClane is going to be able to save those people, but he just doesn't. And that is so important for his character because he thinks he could have saved those people, and he just sits there depressed and broken. Subsequently, he learns that his wife's plane only has 90 minutes left of fuel. This movie, I think, did a great job heightening the tensity for John McClane. And then, of course, there's the scene where they throw grenades in the cockpit, which is undoubtedly, the longest time for a grenade to blow up in cinematic history. But then, of course, we get this cool shot, so it's all forgiven. This leads to the awesome climactic battle at the church, which is just great because when you first see the movie, you're really unaware that these guys are really just shooting blanks. And I'll never forget the first time I saw Die Hard 2, I was just blown away by the twist. And at the same time, I think that was one of the reasons why when I first saw Die Hard 2, I actually liked it more than the first one, despite the fact that I don't anymore. But when you first see the movie, and you realize, oh, they're using blue tape? Why is that? Oh, it's blanks to create a diversion. That was brilliant. That was a great plan, and I thought that that was handled so well. So now we come to that final scene on the plane, and here comes one of my favorite shots, followed by one of my favorite stunts of all time. Lower! The fight between McClane and Major Grant I thought was just okay. The editing for the sequence where they fight is kind of awkward at times. It doesn't feel like the actors are really hitting each other, but then the fight between McClane and Colonel Stewart is bad ass. This fight, oh man, it looks like they're trying to kill each other. I'm like, were there two different editors in this scene? Because the fight scene towards the end was spectacular. So after McClane, of course, leaks the fuel, he gets kicked off the plane, and then we come to this part.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
I think the performances in Die Hard 2 are really good. So in the end, guys, I still really like Die Hard 2. It's not as good as the first one and not as good as the third one, but I think it's better than Die Hard 4. Die Hard 2 creates great suspense. It takes place in an airport, which I think is better than the first one. But I do think that the action sequences at times were a little bit okay, but then there are other ones that are spectacular. The twist is great, and I think the performances all around are spectacular. Bruce Willis does a great job in this film. Guys, I'm going to give Die Hard 2 an A-. So what do you guys out there think about Die Hard 2? I'd love to hear all those comments, so send them in the comment section below. And guys, thank you so much for watching Blockbuster Weekend. I have 2 more reviews coming up. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned.